Alright, hi guys, today we are going to be making a lo-fi style beat. We are going to be recording guitar, bass and keys, and we are going to be programming in some drums. At the end we're going to give a very light mix and master to our track, and I'm going to show you what the finished product sounds like right now. Alright guys, so I'm going to show you now how I would record in some electric guitar. I've got my Eastman T46 plugged directly into my interface for this. Because we're doing a lo-fi style beat, we want to have a slight jazz influence in our chords, so we're going to be using mainly major 7, minor 7 and dominant 7 chords. Alright guys, let's go in and process this guitar part now. Alright guys, so we've got our guitar loaded in now, so I just want to put this through an amp sim. So I'm going to use Corey Wong by Archetype. I really like this plugin and it's going to sound pretty nice with this. So let's just hear this now with the amp sim. So I'm going to leave it exactly like that. I just wanted it to sound a little bit nicer before I start messing with the sound of it. So the next thing I'm going to use is RC20, and we're going to use this to make it more lo-fi and almost kind of ruin the sound a little bit. There's a preset here that I really like called Sad Piano. So I'm just going to stick this on now and we can have a listen. So we can hear that already sounds really cool. I am just going to bring this wobble down a little bit, and I think we're good to go from there. So the next thing I want to do is just add a bit of reverb, which I'll use Vintage Verb. I like using the 80s module, and I'm going to put it to a room and just bring the mix down. So I'm really happy with how that sounds now. I am actually going to bring the mix down a little bit more and bring the decay down, because I just wanted to have a little bit of space. Alright, let's move on to our bass. Alright guys, I'd now like to show you how I would add bass to the track. So first of all, we're going to record some in using my Fender Mustang. So I'm going to add a beat into this just so I can play along and get a feel for a groove. I'll just be using a generic sample from Splice. Alright, so we've got our bass recorded. Let's go in and process this now. Alright guys, so the next thing we have here is our bass, and what we've got is this. So what I'll do is I'll add an amp sim first of all. I'm going to use our Ampeg SVT. And I like this mid boost setting. And then I'll just add an LA3A, the CLA3A from Waves afterwards. And we'll just get about between 3 and 6 dB of compression. And that's all we need for now. So these two together. Alright, so let's move on to our keys now. Alright guys, so I found a really cool patch that I'd like to use for this example. It is a keyscape patch. It's called Rhodes LA Custom Warm, and it sounds like this. Now admittedly, I am very bad at keyboard, but if you can play one chord in and you can figure out the rest of the notes within the DAW, you can make a really realistic sounding keyboard performance. Okay, so I know that my very first chord is a B flat major 7. Now, I would even find that hard to figure this out on this keyboard. So what I'll do is I will just play in a C major 7, and we can find this just using the white keys on the keyboard. So that is a C major 7. So I'm just going to play this little idea in. And from there, we're going to build the rest of our chord base. Alright guys, so we've got our keys loaded up here now. So we're just going to add some processing to these. First of all, I'll take some low end off. This is just to tidy it up before we put our compressor in. So we've got an LA3A compressor now. I like this one for instruments like bass and keys and organs and stuff like that. So this will be doing about 3 dB of compression. Just makes it a bit more present and upfront. Now we're going to use our RC20 to make it a bit more lo-fi, as that's the kind of genre we're doing. So I probably, I'm using this flux chorus sound for this. This is just giving it a bit of space and a bit of wobble. Now after this, we're just going to use our fab filter, and we're just going to use this to take off a bit more low end to make it a bit more thin sounding. Yeah, I think that sounds really good. We want this to almost sound like a sample. So the next thing we'll use is this Decimort bit crusher. This sounds amazing, and I've just got it on this dirty bright setting. So here's it before and after. So that's just going to add a lot of sizzle to the top end. It sounds really cool. And then the final couple of things we'll do is add a H delay. This is by Waves. It's just a really cool delay that a lot of artists use, such as Disclosure. And we'll just put this on to kind of give it a bit more ambience. Now if we start and stop it quite quickly, you can hear what it's doing. So bum 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 bum. Sounds amazing, and there's a nice modulation effect on this H delay here. Which I actually don't have on. I'm actually going to turn this up a little bit. So that'll just give more of a like chorusy, flangery type effect with the modulation. We're going to stick a soothe in then. And this is just going to be taking out some of the kind of low mids here that I find quite harsh. So let's listen to this. That's just what it's working on there, that kind of frequency. So there we have our keys, guys. So let's hear it before and then hearing it after. Yeah, I think that sounds amazing. I'm really happy with that. So what we have so far is this. Alright, so I'd like to show you now the drums that I've made for this track. So I'm going to just play it for you, and then I'll take you through it bit by bit. So let's take you through the kick and the snare first. I chose quite a short punchy kick because the bass is going to be doing kind of a bit, it'll be moving around. And I like a kick that just kind of pops through, quite sharp and sudden. So now I'll show you this sample. This is a Bossa Nova sample by Saint Lucia. So I've done a bit of processing to this, but I'll show it to you what it sounds like first. So it sounds really cool. It sounds like an old sample you'd find on like a keyboard from the 90s. So I'm going to show you just how I process this with the EQ now. So I've taken off a lot of the low end. I've done a dip here at about 1500 where one of the transients will be, and I've done a low pass on some of the higher frequencies from about 2000, 2500 upwards. So this is what it sounds like now. You can see that I've done a dip here, which is just dipping this transient out. So this with our kick sounds like this. And I've just chosen this quite kind of distorted snare sample. It works really well for this type of music. It's quite short and snappy, so let's hear the three of those together. And then we've got this hat loop that I've taken from an Oliver pack. So these four together now. And then I've gotten this shaker loop doing the, I think it's the 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Then on top of all of that, we've got another Oliver sample just doing some more hats. And I've just looped this part here because I wanted 2 hats at the end. So to process all of this, I always stick a neutron and I go to their basic drum break EQ, which you can find here, basic drum break EQ. I'll stick that on. This adds a lot more body and life to drums if you just stick it on your bus. It does some really kind of cool, intelligent things. And then I'll stick a decapitator on as well at the end because I want this to sound almost sampled. So I'll just show you now what that sounds like, bringing it up in drive. Now I think that's sounding amazing. So the final thing that I would do for my drum bus then is I would put a room reverb on a return channel here. I'm using Valhalla Vintage. I would put it on its room setting. It's at 100%. I'm going to send this to the room. I've brought the decay time down to about 1.77 seconds. And then I use a fab filter just to take out the lows and some of the highs. And as we bring this up in volume now, you'll hear what this sounds like. So this is what our reverb sounds like soloed. All this is going to do is give you the feeling that the drums were actually played in and recorded in a room. So it's a nice way of making them sound natural. Alright guys, so this is our loop so far now. And I think that's sounding amazing. And then the final thing I would do is I would stick an Ozone 9 on here and I would just do our master assistant. So I'd turn that on. I would say, yes, let's go for it. Now that I have all that done, I would bounce this out and I would send it off to potential singers, songwriters, other producers, and I have an idea ready for a session. So let's just hear this from top to bottom. So I hope you enjoyed that. Like and subscribe for more, and thank you very much for taking the time.